Alright, so bit of a different day for Gino today. He's had some rides in Hackamore, Boswell, he's used to spurs, he's got a good idea of what we're doing. So now we're going to transition to a snaffle bit. He has eaten with the snaffle, and I'll often put a bridle on and adjust it long. Make sure they're supervised, but get them to eat their breakfast, and they kind of have to pick the snaffle up and hang on to it. My first ride, I will also ride in a noseband, but it's got a heavy section of elastic in it. So it's got a bit of give, and on top of that I won't do it up really tight, so it's just going to kind of encourage him to keep his mouth shut, but there's no way it's really going to restrict him very much. So I can easily get my fingers underneath it. Not to mention it's not rigid like we said, so when he opens his mouth, it's just if he really wants to gape, it sort of discourages that behavior. I will, make that a little tighter as time goes on, but first day not so much. He's never had this bridle on before, and I don't really know his head size, so I'm going to adjust it really big so it goes over his ears nice and easy. This is just a regular snaffle bit. It's got a curve in it and it's black steel. I do like black steel, maybe with a copper inlay as a starter bit. So we'll pop that on him. So we've left it nice and big, so it's going to go over his ears really easy. We won't have to fold his ears up. Adjust the brow band into position and then do it up. I also, when I put a bridle on, I usually leave it, a little looser than maybe some people, because I want him to learn to pick it up and hang on to it. If I pick it up where it's pulling on his mouth, it's uncomfortable, and I'm going straight to the bars of his mouth when I do use the rein. So there's a little less pressure on his face when he's not doing anything if I leave it looser, and he's got to learn to pick it up. Obviously you don't want to leave it so loose that it's hanging down and annoying and flapping around in his mouth. So the other thing we'll also have that you might have noticed is a lip strap on that, so that if I have to pull way out to the side, it'll pull on one ring and not the other. The reason we're back in the round yard is simply because we are going into this today. And if there's any reaction, if there's a big problem, if he takes issue with anything, I kind of want the fences back up to turn him. So if he got worried or scared or bothered, I want him to go, like we'll eventually get to the fence and the fence will do the steering or stay out of trouble. If I was out in the open, I might have to be more aggressive and pull him around a bit more. And I don't want to do that, obviously. So he already knows how to bend and flex and do everything we want. So we're just going to run him through, things that he's already done. And we'll go way back to the start. So some of his beginning exercises, getting him to move his hips around and all that kind of stuff. Day 1, 2, or 3, we did some of these ones. And instead of using a halter this time, obviously we're using the bit. And we're going to go through that same procedure. Just asking him to taking that slack out and flex more and more and more until he turns around. So I like that more than, traditional long reining, because there's always a good result and it's really easy. Sometimes see people long rein and they kind of get in a jam and it can be a problem, so just something that I go through. Like I said, it is a maneuver he's already done. A little distracted by the horse going past, but that's good. Because on top of everything else, I really want to see what he's like under pressure too. And pressure can be the mental pressure of like, he's distracted, he's a little confused, and there's a little pressure on him. Like, how's he going to deal with all of that? So I can sort of back up and slide that through my hand. So I kept the same pressure there, but I just dragged along the lead rope. So I kept the same pressure, but with more distance between me and him. Another thing I like to do, and he's already done a bit of lunging obviously on the halter, is we'll lunge him with the bit. And the same sort of thing, it'll be very clear, like there'll be pressure. When he comes in, there's no pressure. And I'm still in a yard where if things got hectic, you know, if there was a problem, I can let the lead rope go and the yard will help me out. I even like to do a little bit like I did there. I actually deliberately drew him around at a trot to see how he'd deal with it. Like we said, mentally he's been through all of this with a bosal and a halter, so it shouldn't be a huge departure for him. It's going to be the same exercises, we're just using different equipment. But I like to see what's going to happen when he's trotting around. He kind of reaches the end of that rein. So things I'm looking for is he gets upset and lifts his head, chucks his head, he's got a problem with it, or he just follows that feel and comes around, which he's doing a pretty good job of. So next thing we're going to do is play around with him on the ground. Again, similar exercises to what we did before. We're going to tip his head away, move his front end across, bring his head towards me, push his hip away. All of these things that he's already done. And for him, it's a little bit like going back to kindergarten, but at the same time, I just want to check that he's going to be okay with all of those things. Another thing that'll occasionally bother a horse is I'm going to be on one side and bend him the other way. Don't think that's going to be an issue with him, but we'll still check it. There has been the odd horse that I've double reined, so I've left the bosal on underneath the bridle and used both reins at the same time and slowly incorporated more bridle rein and less bosal rein. But a horse who's like really sensitive, I'm more inclined to do that. We're going to work on asking him to give his nose like he's done in the bosal as well, and see if he can figure that little problem out. Good. And he only flexed in a little, but again, it's like, not like we're starting again, but I'm going to reward for a try here. And he's coming in, but he's pushing down as well. He's not just flexing. He's actually trying to evade by dragging it off me down low, and then he gave to it. So the reason I'm doing this on the ground is I've had some horses that feel that bit for the first time get really panicky, lift their head, lift their front end up a lot. So I want to make sure that's not going to be an issue for me. Like a lot of people, we're going to start off just seeing if we've got basic flexion. Again, he's off a different feel. This should actually come to him a little bit easier in a snaffle bit, because the one thing the snaffle is brilliant for is being very specific, like right side of your mouth, left side of your mouth. You know, there's no real confusion. Because the bosal draws under his jaw, there's a little bit of vertical as well as lateral flexion going on. It's much easier to get lateral flexion in a snaffle bit. So he's bending around okay. Same as we did before on the ground. Move his hip out, lead his front end out. We'll check all those things. Like I said, we're sort of going backwards through all the stages a little bit and just skipping through just to see that, make sure there's no issues along the way. There's no holes in the program. So he's nice and soft there. Move his hip. And then lead his front. And as we know, if he gets rude, that one rein stop is going to be our one of our major tools, so we need to make sure that that's working. I said in a round yard, if he got really upset, I can let him go and the fence can just steer him, rather than me have to pull him around and get tough on him. I can maintain and wait until he figures it out, if that comes up. And in his case, probably won't, because he's pretty cool. He tends to think his way through his problems. So we've done left and right standing still, moved his hip, led his front. Do the same on the other side. Bend and flex first. So we've done left and right like we did on the ground. We're going to ask him to flex straight in and see what we get. And he's already done a lot of this in the hackamore, so he's just got to go through that same thing, just a different feel. And I'm not clucking to him, I'm not leaning back, so I didn't have to back up, I just want him to flex. But again, you know, he's doing a great job, he's just searching around for a result. And he'll figure out that I'm not asking him to go anywhere, he's just got to give to it. There we go. So the next thing I'm real concerned about on this day is, let's add a little bit of speed. Can I bend him to a stop? So add a little excitement. And can I bend and shut him down? Good boy. Again, we've been through this with a holder. We need to make sure it's all good in the snaffle. Is now I can be a little bit more thorough on his bend. So we know through some of his other work he was a little stiff on this side. So now we can isolate that a lot more and make sure he's soft. And it's also very clear in the snaffle, whereas the bosal not as clear, like we said. And bend him around and make sure that's going to work. Good. Okay, that's all cool. So we know all our emergency procedures are in place. And he's in a good frame of mind. That time we are asking him to flex and back up. Now I'm just going to wait for him to be soft. There we go. Cool. I'll just do a little flexion at the walk. And that's one of those times there, like the fence brought him around the corner while he was fluffing around. And if I was out in a bigger arena, he might struggle a bit more. So I just like to make sure he's cool with that. And you can see he's not overly cool with that. You know, he's kind of like, well, it doesn't feel quite the same as the hackamore. That was really nice. So he knows where to go to get away from pressure. He knows where to go to get that release. It's just the pressure feels slightly different because we're working on a bit. And it's a big change for him, and also that I can be very specific about this right bend now. So when I hold my right rein a little bit shorter as I ask him to yield, there we go. he's kind of got to bend and give a little bit more and a little bit more completely than he used to. Some horses I do a lot more work on the ground too. Like he didn't show any major reactions, but you can see him searching and being a little bit bothered. I've had some horses that were reactive and had a few issues, and they got very reactive. You know, we needed to work out all of that on the ground. There we go. And it usually only takes like a ride or two, 3 tops. And they're back to like, oh, okay, doing what they were doing before, just doing it in a bridle instead of the hackamore. But yeah, horses that were real sensitive, I had to do more groundwork. A lot of people question, well, why go to a snaffle at all? I said being able to be very specific about bend and lateral bend and very, very particular about it. So let's go into our side pass that he already knows from the Bosel. Good. He's also had a few days off before this ride too. So being a young horse, that would kind of mess with his head a little bit. There we go. Lead that front. Make sure that hip catches up. Keep that bend, keep your face over here. And that's why the snaffle moving forward, be very specific with it. And some horses will get upset because they can't cheat, for want of a better word, like they used to. Like before, he could kind of just knuckle and bend the way that suited him. And now he can't do that, so he's going to get a little bothered by that. Again, he's trying to drag down. There he goes. There we go. So you can kind of see then I just maintained until he got a little patient and maintained it for a few strides, and then I gave it back to him. Because he's already done this in the hackamore, and that's why I'm happy to just wait until he yields to it mentally as well as physically. I'm not asking him to maybe do it as long as I was in the hackamore. But I do want him to quit fussing and keep it there for a little while before I turn him loose again. So you can kind of see now he's moving over to what he already knew before. And instead of arguing about it, he's just going back to, okay, well, I'll just stay there and I'll stay out of trouble. And he already knows that because he's been through that with the hackamore. There we go. So there's all that fussing, and then the last few strides he just held his head still and quiet and soft there. And that's when I gave back. Inconveniently doing it going away from the camera, but hey. Let's see if we can set it up here again. So again, already knows this, we just need to change it over to a bridle. We also know there's a bit of a goofy little boy who likes to play in this guy as well. So, you know, a few days off, late in the evening, some of the goofiness will be coming just from that. Nothing to do with the fact that we're moving over into a snaffle today. So I had a little bit of flexion on him as I took off. He took off really nice that time, which was good. Again, all stuff he's done, we can just be a little bit more particular, and it's a little different feel for him. But the place where he goes to get away from pressure, it's still exactly the same. And that's where, even though that it's his first ride in a snaffle, you get quite a dramatic result, as in dramatically good, because he has been through all this before. Slightly more difficult for him, but only very slightly. And like everything we've done is we've just added a little bit more each day. We're not trying to overwhelm him. We're just trying to bring him up very nice and slow and keep his confidence while he goes. And I think that's a big thing too, is keeping their confidence throughout. They need to feel like they're, you know, getting puzzles and they're solving them and they're clever. You know, that's important to them too, like it is to people. Oh. So he was a little distracted, obviously because we'd just come out of the bends and everything. He was a little distracted then when I stopped and he tried to snatch his nose off me. So that's why I backed him up, because I wanted him to not only give me his nose that time, as like give me a little bit more follow through. And I did that almost knowing that that was going to be a little tough for him. I knew I didn't 100% have his attention. He wasn't in a prime position to do it. So it's a little bit of a test. Again, you know, like what's going to happen when things aren't ideal? Or, you know, are you going to have a problem or are you going to be cool? And obviously next time around, he's much better prepared. He did a great job. Just finished with a little side to side. Good boy. Because this is a bit, if anything's new today, well, obviously the whole bit is new. But so far as what he's physically being asked to do, this is a bit new because it's very specific. This lateral bend is very direct this time. All right, we'll call it a day on him there. And we'll give him a rub because he's doing the best he can with the human he got stuck with. But I really appreciate that, you know, you've taken time out of your day to watch me play with him, and I hope you've enjoyed it. He's a great horse to work, so I hope you're enjoying the series, and I'll catch you on the next one. Thank you. Bye. G'day everyone. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. I'd just like to highlight some ways that you can support the channel a little bit more that are completely free. Like the video, subscribe, please leave a comment whether you like it or you don't like it. Either comment's welcome. And that just supports the YouTube algorithm and helps the channel grow, which enables me to make more videos, more contact, and help more people. Thank you very much again, and keep watching. Cheers. Bye.